Hello, everybody. Welcome to our webinar course where we're going to talk about Intro to Esports in Rocket League. My name is Dennis Buchanan. I am one of your instructors, and I'm also joined with Fernando Aguilar. And throughout this, we're going to talk about some really interesting things and make sure you get a full understanding of esports and Rocket League. So let's get ready to get right on into this. So to tell you a little bit about myself, my name is Dennis Buchanan, and I'm the Chief Operating Officer for the Long Island Gaming League. Fernando, you want to introduce yourself?
Absolutely. My name is Fernando Aguilar. I am one of the co-founders of the Cave Bros. And I'm pretty much going to explain to you the whole esports aspect of a lot of these talking points.
All right. So to jump into the talking points, everybody, we have an agenda here so you can see, and I'm going to go through some of these items. We want to make sure that you understand modern esports industry, the general trends and development milestones. Also going to talk about some of the marketing tools and business models in esports environment. We're going to understand the stakeholders in the modern day esports ecosystem, Rocket League and how it's played.
And of course, we're also going to talk a little bit about understanding how technological advances in esports impact families, kids, and adults at home, develop the necessary skills to play Rocket League. We're going to have a video play analyzing gameplay of Rocket League, and then of course the gaming, safety, and parental controls and playing the games, how to monitor.
So as you see, we have a full agenda that we're going to go over. So there's going to be a lot of knowledge if you want to grab a pen and paper to make sure that you're ready to take any notes, or you could always come back and watch this video as many times as you like. Let's get into the next slide.
Alright, modern esports industry general trends and development milestones. So basically, esports has a huge presence in the world today. When it comes from just high schools and colleges who are investing into their programs with teams and scholarships, or if it's the major television networks that we watch every day, such as ESPN, ABC, and other networks like YouTube, Twitch, and Mixer, which all pretty much give us a feel for what esports is and what it is on a professional level. And we also get to take a look at celebrities and other streamers who share their gameplay on platforms such as Twitch, and you even get to interact with them in their chats. So esports as a whole is pretty much just everywhere, or it's around every corner. When it comes to the major companies that are investing into them, we see it all over the place. And now we're starting to see it especially big on these platforms and on our TVs. So esports over the years has grown a lot and very quickly. Um, Esports kind of dates back all the way to the late 80s and early 90s when we saw a lot of it being played in small arcades. And, a lot of games that we're familiar with, such as Street Fighter, Space Invaders, Asteroids, were some of the original esports to kind of move the industry. And their tournaments were on a significantly smaller scale than they are now. Nowadays, we see games such as Fortnite, League of Legends, Overwatch, which all sell out stadiums. And we're talking about major stadiums. We're talking about traditional sports stadiums such as the Barclays Center, such as Madison Square Garden, or even the Arthur Ashe Stadium. It's also just, we've seen it grow from being kind of like a hobby that everybody would do at home to something that people nowadays can make a career out of, which wasn't really seen as an option back then. Before, when you would buy a console for your house, you would just buy it for the kids so that they would have something to do. But nobody ever thought that they could be, let's say, a commentator or an MC or even work in the production industry for esports and actually have a big career made out of it. And we also see, with the help of a lot of major companies, that esports is one of the biggest attractions when it comes to viewership on TV, on the platforms such as Twitch and YouTube, as I said before, and just even live events. Live events we see just recently in 2018, I believe it was the Overwatch Championship that sold out Barclays Center for a full weekend, and it sold out very very quickly. It sold out in the first day that it put its tickets up. So this is just examples of how esports has grown over the years and how it's become something that was almost underground and just played in arcades to now something that has just grown into something enormous from playing for a big organization and signing contracts that pretty much equate to the contracts that some people playing traditional sports make.
No, it's very true, Fernando. And I think as we think about this topic and being a gamer myself and seeing how things have grown, I remember the only times playing esports, or not even esports, is playing those video games would just be me and my brother kind of playing in the room. And our thing of a big arena or filling up the room would just be inviting all of our friends and everybody just kind of to have to wait. So it is very interesting to be a part of a growing industry over the years. From I literally remember when I was playing video games, how we would play together, to now, as you mentioned, people are playing in stadiums. It went from maybe a local store might have a arcade system and you would go there when you would shop and play video games, to where the malls used to have arcade rooms, to where it has now expanded, is clearly um, a very big difference, because a lot of those things don't even exist anymore. So esports has definitely grown leaps and bounds over the past couple of years.
Exactly. So the spike in interest is something that's really a big part of esports. A lot of these technological advances have pretty much helped a lot of people make it more accessible. So as we were mentioning, these arcades, the only way you really got a gaming experience was by going out to your local arcade, or for me, when I was younger growing up, I would always go to the laundromat down the street from me just so I could play Street Fighter. Meanwhile, now we look at today's younger generation, and who doesn't have games on their phones? And it doesn't really matter what game, but if they're playing games on their phones, they have games on their consoles, computers. It's way more accessible. It kind of gives you just the opportunity to not have to go out and play video games, but play in your own rooms or in your living rooms or wherever you might set it up. And then on top of that, we've seen the development of a lot of competitive leagues and tournaments, which just help everyone want to get more and more invested in it. So if let's say you're just a player at home and you want to make a name for yourself, you might enter on some online leagues, tournaments, or you might enter in a local league or tournament that you could go to and make a name for yourself and get yourself some attention from, let's say, a team or a sponsor. It's the opportunities are now all there, so it gives everybody fair ground to make their way through the industry. We also see a lot of help from social media influencers and celebrities who push these games off of their social medias, considering a lot of the younger generations spend a lot of their time on platforms such as Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, Twitch, whatever it might be. So they're surrounded by it as well, where they see a lot of these influencers and streamers and celebrities playing the games that they might be interested in, and then they of course follow and join them in enjoying these games. And then lastly, a lot of these, school programs that are giving out scholarships are also helping these younger generations because it's making it a lot more real for them. So that you're not explaining to your parents that you're not just playing video games to have fun with your friends, but you're playing video games because you might have an opportunity to get a scholarship to your favorite college or play for whatever team that your college or league that your college might be participating in. So it just gives a lot more opportunities to everybody, which I believe is one of the major reasons we see so much interest in the esports world. So here I'm going to pass it on to Dennis, where he's going to pretty much discuss the marketing tools and business models we see in the esports environment today.
Hey, how's it going, everyone? This is Dennis from the Long Island Gaming League. Just want to say hi. I'm super happy to be able to present to you in this webinar. I'm from the Long Island Gaming League. I have on my official Team LI jersey, and our Long Island Gaming League hat. So this section, we're going to talk about marketing tools. And these marketing tools are from a wide array of things. And I'm just going to go over a few because we really want to get into the good stuff, which is after this tournament. But anyway, so let me get right into the marketing tools. The first marketing tool that I really want to talk to you about is influencers. Marketing influencers have been a huge part of the growth of the esports industry. Some of those people are generally known as gamers, and these are gamers who have extreme good skills in esports. And they go on platforms such as Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube, building a huge fan base. So when their fan base becomes so big, because they're playing the video games that a lot of gamers love, whether it is a Fortnite or a Rocket League or a League of Legends, they've amassed major skills. So now you have all these other fellow gamers who enjoy playing these games, but watch somebody play on the next level. They hence influence the community. Every time they play, the gamers want to watch. If they do a new trick or a new move or learn something new, the gamers will then follow or try to do to improve their game. Now, with that marketing tool and influencers, the game manufacturers also know this. And what they do is whenever they want to launch a new game or try out something new within the game, they will provide it to the influencers. The influencers then stream these gameplay and give their feedback and talk about it as they play, which is what you see in a lot of the Twitch, Mixer, and YouTube videos. Now, they don't always do this, but sometimes you will have a video game influencer playing the game and talking about, oh, I like how they made this update, or I don't like how they did this. And they're giving their feedback. And that's also influencing the community and is influencing the game manufacturers so they can make a better game. Another way marketing influencers influence is through business. A lot of businesses, whether it's a Red Bull or an Xbox, also see these players and they'll sponsor them financially to help promote their brand. So ideally, okay, there's a gamer who has an energy drink. He'll talk about that energy drink in his video, hence influencing again the viewers who are gamers who are interested in an individual game. Now that's a little bit of marketing influencers, and that's one tool that is utilized in the esports industry. Now, how does that apply, let's just say, to the educational realm? How can that apply to BOCES? Well, this is how utilizing this particular marketing tool, which is marketing influencers, can be utilized in a academic surrounding or academic realm and have just as much impact as it does in the esports industry. So let's start with, let's say, a teacher. So we have a teacher who possibly learns or plays a game fairly well, maybe not even the best, but plays a game. Okay, at that point, the teacher is the influence because the students look up to them, the teacher educates them, and they are the main focal point. But now they happen to play a game that is now relatable to the students in some way, shape, or form. And again, they don't have to be good. They just have to understand the dynamics of the game. So now you have a teacher who's relatable, who understands the dynamic of the game, which also translates and changes the conversations that they have with the students. Instead of just being, oh, he's a really cool, he or she is a really cool teacher, he or she also now plays my video game, which makes them more willing to listen to whatever they may be teaching about. Now, from that aspect, it creates a relatability, it creates a sense of trust, and it creates a sense of camaraderie between the students and the educator, I should say. That's one aspect of using a marketing influencer tool in esports within an academic realm. Another way that you can utilize it is the students themselves. Now, how would that work? Well, part of our program and what we believe in is that academics, education, and gameplay coincide. They go very closely together. But in order to be good at one, we like to think that you could be good at the other. Playing a video game does take a lot of similar comparisons to being good at school. You study, you research, you develop, and you execute. Same things are done when you're taking a test. You got to study, you got to research, you develop a plan to take your test, and then you execute. Now, you're going to have some students who are going to excel in either playing video games or you're going to have students who excel in the educational world. But if you happen to have one who's a really good student, because we would hope any student that wants to be inside of a esports curriculum has to maintain a certain amount of grades. So they've already met the educational criteria. So now they're playing the game. They're not playing the game to be the best. Again, it's not about being the best. It's just about playing the game and being a part of a team. And now you have other students who are within this team who are interested in this game, but you have the one who could be an influencer. And this player could talk about how they're able to successfully keep their grades up and play the game. And they can inspire the other students to do the same. They can show them their studying tactics to make sure that their grades are good so they can be a part of the esports team. They hence can become a positive influence within the school ecosystem, helping other students to understand esports a little bit better, but also helping them to understand how getting a good education and knowing that video games can open up many more doors than just being good at it is a good thing. And it creates a strong foundation of when they're out playing video games, they're not just playing games, but they're playing video games with a purpose. And they understand that being in school and having the opportunity to play video games is just as important as making sure that your grades are good. So you can go to school, you can go to college, you can further your career, whether it is in esports industry or not. The skill sets that you take to play that video game well are the same skill sets that can be utilized in the real world and in the academia world. All right. So hopefully you learned a little bit about some of the marketing tools that are currently being done in the esports arena. And now jumping right into the stakeholders in the modern day esports ecosystem. And Fernando's going to give you some more information about this very topic.
Alrighty, thank you, Dennis. So, hopping right into it, we're going to look at all of the companies that are pretty much involved in the gaming ecosystem. So, when it comes from esports, publishers, distributors, hardware, and the users. Starting with the esports, we see a company such as Facebook, Amazon, Google, Riot Games, and Epic Games. These are all very big companies when it comes to the esports realm. Epic Games being the ones that run the Fortnite esports world, Riot Games who run League of Legends and their whole esports world, and then ESL who has their hands deep in a lot of different games such as Counter-Strike. So, these companies, they've started their whole world in esports by creating their own leagues and just pretty much running their leagues by being some of the publishers of their own games. Then when we look at the publishers such as Nintendo and Blizzard, Activision, Tencent, Bandai, and EA, these companies are some of the publishers of the biggest games in the esports realm as of right now. A lot of people don't know this, but Tencent Games is actually involved in, I would say, about 80%, if not more, of a lot of these companies' games. They're invested into every single company in the esports realm. And on top of that, they're involved in every single way possible. Nintendo, Activision, and Blizzard have all found their own successes and in their own games. And for Nintendo, it would be their own consoles, such as Sony and Microsoft, who have PlayStation and Xbox. And then even Apple, who has their own world of gaming on the mobile devices. When it comes to the distributors, we see a lot of companies such as GameStop and Steam, which Steam is probably the biggest when it comes to PC games, considering a lot of the PC world is on Steam and a lot of the games is on Steam. And then GameStop for the people who play on consoles. And for me, like, I'm somebody who I like to play with the physical copies of the games. I typically don't buy them right off of the stores on the consoles, which is a possibility, but I like to own the physical copy, the physical CD. So I'll go out to a GameStop and I'll find the games that I like and buy them there. Then when it comes to the hardware, the hardware is a very big part of the gaming world as a whole. It gives the players a lot of opportunities to use their favorite equipment. Let's say if it's Razer, who they make mouses, they make keyboards, they make controllers, headsets, whatever you name it, they are always involved, and it just gives the players an opportunity to choose the specific hardware that they want to use. Or for the people who play consoles, you have your options between Sony's PlayStation, Microsoft's Xbox, and the Nintendo Switch, which is their latest console. You have the option of choosing which platform you would want to play on. Then, when it comes to the users, a lot of these companies are just the sources of where you would be able to play these games from. And Valve, which is a company that has created a lot of the games for Steam, we see that Amazon even has their own things going on. Nintendo, they're one of the biggest, and they have been for a very long time, as we've seen in the whole Mario series. Sony, Apple, Google, and then of course again Tencent, which Tencent is involved in a lot of the gaming industry. Then lastly, we don't see any specific companies here, but when it comes to the esports organizations such as Team Liquid, Cloud9, and G2, who are backed by very, very big companies. In particular, I could say that Team Liquid is invested in by a lot of different companies, including people such as Disney and Magic Johnson, who's, he's a part owner of the Lakers. And then one of the owners of Mandalay Bay is also invested into that team. So we see that investments come from all over for these esports organizations to back them.
Yeah. And I mean, the ecosystem, just to kind of continue to show how large it is, this is the ecosystem that has only been growing. So this reflects 2017, what the ecosystem looked like. Just imagine what it is now in 2020. And then it was a $122 billion ecosystem where money was being made, money was being funneled in or using to create the esports industry that we have today. And as you look at some of the names that are within the diagram here in the webinar, you would see a lot of familiar names that have their hands in a variety or multiple aspects of either it's esports, the publishing, the distribution, the hardware, or the users. So this ecosystem is not only is it growing, but it is growing with already big companies. So that means that it's only going to continue to get bigger and bigger. And making sure that you understand esports as a whole and where it's going is very valuable for parents, teachers, and students.
Exactly, exactly. And just to touch up on a lot of the, today's um, people who are involved, because I see that these are from 2017. But you know, if we take a look at, I believe it was last year or 2 years ago, a lot of these leagues, such as the League of Legends is professional league, Overwatch is professional league, they've all franchised their teams. So now they're not just the teams that were involved at first, but now they're franchised by bigger organizations, and a lot of them being sports teams, such as the Houston Rockets and the Cleveland Cavaliers, the Golden State Warriors. A lot of these teams now also are part owners of a lot of the teams in these leagues. So right here we see an image of the Rocket League Championship Series. So the Rocket League Championship Series is a series that gets played by 10 teams, and for this split runs from February 8th to March 8th, and they play multiple splits throughout the year with breaks in between. It's almost like multiple seasons, and they play for a prize pool of about $400,000, and a lot of these major esports organizations participate in it, such as NRG Esports, G2 Esports, and Cloud9, which are some of the biggest esports organizations in the ecosystem right now. So we're going to kind of dive deep into what exactly Rocket League is. Just starting it off, Rocket League is one of the major esports right now, and it has gained a lot of traction over the years. And to just generalize what Rocket League is, players work with their teams to advance the ball down the field. They score goals into their opponent's nets, similar to the game of soccer. Rocket League is a technical game which involves both high level dexterity and fast paced gameplay. While one of the most welcoming elements of the game is its accessibility and familiarity with the traditional sport of soccer, through a lot of practice, the best players are highly advanced and have fine tuned their mechanics. This gameplay is pl- this game is played on the three major platforms such as Xbox, PlayStation, and PC with the ability of playing together on all platforms. Developing the necessary skills to play Rocket League. Rocket League is very simple in the fact that it's played by three people on one team, and it's three versus three. And it's just very easy for anyone at any age group to learn this game. It allows the players to work with each other and get better at team building exercises and just working as a team as a whole. And on top of that, again, it's very user friendly, it's very easy, and it doesn't require too much um, skills or efforts to be put in.
Yes, and I think it's in this particular game is ideal when you want to introduce esports to somebody who may not be that familiar with the gaming world. A lot of the games tend to have some advanced features. Rocket League has advanced features as well, but for your average student or parent or teacher or administrator, Rocket League is a great opportunity to have some team building skills, to introduce yourself and your students to esports in a different kind of way. And not only do you get to introduce them to it, but you actually can participate. Excuse me, you can participate. You can participate and play with them and have a different insight into the esports industry as a whole. So no longer do you have to kind of be a bystander or watch gameplay. Rocket League is the perfect opportunity for you to play with your students, play with your family, or play games in general.
Awesome. What's going on, everybody? My name is Fernando Aguilar, also known as the Jacket Man from the Long Island Gaming League. Today I will be taking you on a tutorial of how to play Rocket League and pretty much just explain to you what Rocket League is as a whole. So, Rocket League is a very simple game. It's just soccer, but you're playing with cars. So now I will show you exactly what you need to play a game like Rocket League. So of course, you start off by picking yourself up any controller. I prefer playing with a PlayStation controller. You could play with an Xbox controller, or if you're playing on a computer, you could even play with a keyboard and mouse. Um, so here's going to start us off by showing us the movement of the game. Use L, the left stick here. Press R2 to throttle forward, and L2 to reverse. Hit the ball into the orange goal. So R2 is the back button here on the controller. L2 is the opposite. And of course, the left stick to steer. So the whole objective of the game is pretty much just to play a soccer match and just score as many goals as possible. It's going to tell me to tap X to jump, hold X to jump higher, drive forward, and jump to hit the ball into the orange goal. So in a game like Rocket League, movement is very important, and knowing how to move is very important because there's a lot of different ways you can do tricks and just kind of maneuver your way around the field. So hold L, the left stick, and double tap X to dodge forward. Use extra burst of speed to hit the ball into the orange goal. Such as the flip, it adds to different elements that you could use for movement in this game. Now these here are pretty much boosters because each car has a special ability where it can pretty much travel fast with a little extra rocket boost. Driving over the boost pads refills your boost meter. Hold, it's telling me to hold the left click on the mouse, but it usually is the circle button on the controller to trigger your rocket boost faster. So here you'll see me using the rocket boost while I'm driving over these little booster pads. Next is the camera movement in this game. Um, it's actually, unlike a lot of games, it's really, really important for you to be able to control your camera freely. So in this game, they have what is called focusing. So basically here, if I tap the triangle button on my controller, it focuses my camera on the ball, and you could continuously toggle it throughout your match. So per se, you're playing defense, and the ball is where the arrow indicates down in the right corner. And I don't know where the ball is. I'll tap the triangle button, and it'll show me where the ball is going. So let's say that the ball was in the air, and I'm not watching it. I just tap the triangle button to see where the ball is to help me maneuver around the field. This next thing is called a power slide. A power slide is essentially like a drift to help you change directions really quickly. If the ball is hit past you, you can turn around very quickly and be ready to move the other way. So that's the final part of the tutorial. It's the very, very basics of this game. Um, it also gives you an advanced tutorial for if you want to learn, let's say, aerials, which are moves that are performed in the air while you're running up a ramp. Let's say we want to go up this way. I can flip, I can do different moves in the air while I'm hitting the ball. There's a lot of advanced movement in this game, and nice enough, this game offers tutorials for all of that, free play, and pretty much you could practice within the free play with other friends to learn more. This game also offers something called cross-platform play. So for me, I'm playing on a PC, and let's say I want to play with a friend on a PlayStation or Xbox, I just check off this little box right here called cross-platform play, and then that will allow me to add them by their username and play with them in a custom match, or somebody from Xbox and anyone from any console. Thank you for tuning in to my basic tutorial of Rocket League, and I hope you enjoy playing the game. So now we're going to go over the technological advances in esports and how they impact families, kids, and adults at home. So the technological innovations have been incredible in helping a lot of the families at home understand pretty much what is going on in the industry today. Again, today we see a lot of the gaming is accessible in many ways, either playing on your consoles, your computer, or your mobile phones. It gives everybody the opportunity, no matter what age you are. A lot of these people who, are playing, they might be in a specific age group of, a lot of the younger generations, but it doesn't stop people, let's say in their 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, even playing this game. And it's a lot easier for a lot of these families to get involved and support their children's playing. So for me, as an example, um, my family, they come from a different country. They come from Honduras. And for them, they don't really know what the whole gaming world is or the whole gaming industry is. So it's hard for me to explain it to them. But what I try to do is I try to get them involved. I try to get them to maybe play with me or just observe me playing. I had bought a virtual reality system, and I put them into that world. I put them in that realm, and I put them into a game that they would play. And, they loved it, but it was something weird for them. It was something completely different than what they're normally used to. So for me to just kind of get them involved by playing, it helps them understand pretty much what we're doing as, as the younger generation. They don't really understand what we're doing when it comes to the whole gaming industry. And then on top of that, with the help of a lot of school programs and online videos, parents and other adults can kind of learn more about what this whole industry is about. And it just gives them, a whole overview of what this industry is and the opportunities within the gaming community, because they're everywhere. They're wherever you want to go. If you want to go to a college, you want to play for a high school program, the opportunities are there or even if you want to take your efforts on a professional level, you have the help of these schools, of these programs, online videos, and just social media as well.
All right. So the technical innovations in esports, Fernando did a great job of clearly explaining that to you. But let's talk about something that really might have been in the back of your mind that you've been thinking about as a parent, as a school administrator: game safety, parental controls, and playing games and how to monitor them. So this next slide, we're going to go over some things that can be done. Now, with parental control settings and a child account, many of the platforms that are used when playing video games do have different parental control settings. The parental control settings we're going to speak about specifically right now are the ones that deal with the Xbox, which is made by Microsoft. So you have control of content that you want your student or child to see. So you are able to set this up within the system. You're also able to limit the screen time. You have the ability to set up passwords for authorized purchases. In some of these games, they have in-content purchases that can accidentally be purchased or can be purchased on purpose. So by setting up a password, alleviates that from happening while in game play, while you have different students or different childs accessing the same particular game. There's also settings that you can control, and this is on your account.microsoft.com/family settings is one of the ways you can get into the system to kind of set up some of these parental controls. Another thing that Xbox has done is the communication on Xbox Live, where you must log into the console as an admin, where you can adjust the interaction as far as who can speak on the live platform and interact with your student or your child when they are on the the World Wide Web. Fernando, is there anything in particular that you may want to add to this particular setting before we go to the next slide?
Not necessarily. I think this covers a lot of it. It just goes to show you that there is safe ways of your child or student playing on these consoles. A lot of these companies have also prepared for that because they know that, let's say screen time can be abused by somebody, but if you limit that, it helps alleviate all those issues that you might run into.
Awesome, awesome. So we're going to the next slide.
Yes, sir.
So the next slide, we're going to talk about online multiplayer and key features. Online multiplayer, as you already know, with some of the games, they are able to be in online communities, which means there are other people who may be playing these games. So the first one to talk about is most of the features you want to look for on the Xbox is you hit the Xbox button, which is the circular button in the middle, and it'll bring up the different settings that will help you to navigate with your online multiplayer and key features with these settings. Again, a lot of other platforms do have this where you can limit the multi online player. This is specifically, again, speaking to Microsoft and the Xbox. We also want to look out for unusual gameplay from the game you're playing, and you can send feedback. So if you happen to be in a game, there's also systems where you can report people who may not be using the games correctly, some of the features, or they're lagging, or they're cheating in the game. You are able to report them directly to some of the manufacturers of the game who are actively working on making sure that these are safe playing environments for all players. You can mute players. You can mute players who are being disruptive in the game. If you have other kids and you're trying to play, you on your end of your console are able to mute them to block out any of the noise if they're trying to distract you from gameplay or any negativity that may be coming in through the system while in an online multiplayer platform. The last, again, is you can look for the report feature in game, as I kind of mentioned before, where this speaks of you can get feedback and they can act to ban cheaters. So there is real consequences for individuals who abuse the online community, which maybe some parents are not aware of, but when you are a gamer, you are very much aware of the consequences that come to being disruptive in the online community. using foul language or cheating or making other players' gameplay not user friendly. The software manufacturers do take this very seriously and have a lot of things in play, which we can go into at a later date. Fernando, anything you'd like to say on this?
Yeah, I think a lot of these companies are very good in the way that they handle these types of actions. It helps you as a player and just as a parent knowing that your child um, can play safely and not have to worry about other people online, again, cheating, abusing, or say using foul language. It helps a lot of people. I know I've been through experiences of it where if somebody's being disruptive or if they're using foul language, you simply mute them and you're good to continue playing the game that you enjoy without having to worry about any of these online effects.
Okay. So, with that being said, we are going to get into our final slide. And the final slide is thank you. We want to thank you so very much for taking your time and bearing with us through this esports introductory and Rocket League webinar. Hopefully, you were able to get some information regarding esports in Rocket League. And if you have further questions or there's any further information or would like to see more in-depth videos on these topics, we would be more than welcome to do so. And before I finish, I want to give the platform over to you, Fernando, to say your last words.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for listening to us. And again, as Dennis said, any more information you might need, or if you want to learn about anything in particular around the esports industry, you could always feel free to contact us through our many, many routes, such as social medias, our website. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Thank you for listening to our presentation.
All right, everyone. Enjoy. Have a blessed day. This is Dennis from the Long Island Gaming League, and you just watched Intro to Esports and Rocket League webinar.